Well, hi everyone. We're delighted to welcome you to How Wake Works. I'm Michele Gillespie, for those of you who don't know me, and I am Provost, and I'm joined today by my wonderful colleague, Jackie Travisano, who is EVP and CFO. And we're delighted to be here for this, what we think is going to be a really, really wonderful program. We so appreciate your taking the time to participate, to be here today, and to be with us for this project. We wanted to point out to you that this is our first How Wake Works this year for 2024, and it also happens to be falling on February 29th. This is leap year, right? So why do we do leap years anyway? Have you been thinking about this today, why we do leap years? Well, leap years basically keep our seasons and our calendars in sync because it takes a little over 365 days for the Earth to orbit the sun. So you use leap years to catch up. So leap years let us account for that extra time. We promise you we will hold Wake Work events more often than once every 4 years, okay? But we do like the notion that the workshops are intended to keep us all in sync as one whole community. And I also kind of like the leap analogy. So How Wake Works is intended to help us all help our university leap forward, as it were, in pretty strategic and exciting and transformative ways. Now, today's workshop builds on the momentum of the initial Wake Works workshop, say that 3 times fast, that we had last year in May. We had more than 150 faculty and staff in attendance at that time. And as of this morning, we have heard from more than 195 people intending to be here. So it's nice that we have that wonderful momentum. It's wonderful to look out and see so many members of our community from many different parts of Wake Forest to be able to come together in this way. Matt Bowden and I were just talking about how important it is for us to be able to take the time to do this and come together. We think the topics that we want to talk about today are vital, they are strategic, they are to mission, and we're delighted that you're here. I don't know, when I said to Jackie, when we do this, let's just kick it off with a bang. Let's just do those big things, SIS Workday and space, right? Why take it easy? Why
start small?
Yes, exactly. So the fact that you are all here, that we had this kind of turnout underscores the importance of these topics today. All of you are absolutely critical to the success of the projects we've been doing and these projects as we go forward. And we want your insights, we want your feedback today and ongoing. We can't do this in isolation, we're doing this together. All of these projects impact a very big community, and it's important that we hear your voices, that you give us your thoughts. And now my partner, Jackie Travisano, will give you some more key context.
Well, just a little bit about what you will have today. You're only going to see a few presenters. We did that on purpose, but it's because of the enormous scope of both of the projects that we're discussing today means that probably many of you in this room have touched either Wake Day or space or both. So we want to extend our heartfelt thank you to the Project Wake Day team and the Campus Space Strategy project team for your time and efforts. It's because of the work that you've put in that we're able to stand here and be so proud. After each session, we'll have a little period of Q&A. But if you don't get your question answered or you think of something later, we've set up an email address for you to ask questions. The email address is very creative. It's howwakeworks@wfu.edu. And please don't forget to stay around after we're done. We'll have some hospitality out in the hallway and get to spend more time together.
So now we're going to turn to another campus-wide, exciting, important initiative. And this one is also critically important. And it also takes tremendous commitment from so many community members. Your interest in space at Wake Forest and your presence here today speaks to the centrality of this topic across our campus. And we're really excited to be able to share with you some near-term updates. And that really matters, near-term, right, on the slides here, near term. So we want to parse out that title a little bit. When we say near term, what we mean by that is over the next 3 to 5 years, okay? So Central Campus Space Planning references exactly that. This is really the first time, at least in my time at Wake Forest, our first time at Wake Forest that we are looking at the Renolda campus and within our adjacent properties in a comprehensive way. We're doing this all at once. And this is because to plan for this, to execute such a comprehensive plan is really, really hard. It's really, really complicated. It takes a lot of energy and effort. It requires meticulous planning, and it requires a lot of engagement, and it requires constant communication, back and forth, over and over and over again. I will say that space has always been a hot topic of conversation. Every year I've been on this campus, that's 25 years now, it has always been a very hot topic. It's always been a hot topic, especially for the college, I think. Was as dean for 7 years, I would read one department report after another, expressing a dire need for more classroom space, more office space, more community space. I would read one program review, 10 years of assessing after another, describing unmanageable, unlivable, unbearable space constraints. 7 years, I read these again and again. I heard one chair after another describe the limitations of their space on their teaching, on their learning, and on building community in one academic building after another. Academic buildings designed in 1956 for a very different kind of pedagogy, a very different kind of faculty-student relationship, faculty-staff student relationship, and with 2/3 less faculty, staff, and students in the first place. So think about what we have been adapting. We are short more than 24 offices for our permanent faculty in the college. We lack permanent space for new programs like African American Studies. And we keep carving up small conference rooms to make cubicles and touchdown spaces that have not really been working. But we're trying to do the best we can with what we have. Mm-hmm. All last year, across the strategic framing process, we heard again and again that there are no shared spaces for faculty's collaborations, student engagement, and faculty-student experiential learning opportunities. These space needs across so many departments and buildings are significant. They are important. We have to address them. So this is my obligation. I feel strongly this is my obligation, my ethical obligation as provost, to be helping you address this. And I know that Jackie, in her role as our new EVP and CFO, with fresh eyes looking at this, shares that ethical obligation with me. Now, we've made significant efforts to alleviate some of the space challenges over the years. Don't get me wrong here. Most recently, I think many of you will remember the pre-pandemic plans for an academic commons building out on the top of Davis Field. And you may also remember that back in November 2022, you received an update from the University Space Planning Group announcing that we would not be pursuing those plans for this project. This decision came from a number of factors that we weighed in, and it was influenced by the lessons from the pandemic, from COVID. It was influenced by the 2021 space utilization study. It was influenced by the ways we were coordinating other kinds of space efforts, and it was influenced by evaluating the university use of real estate property adjacent to us. In the post-pandemic period, we lost a lot of our tenants, and we had new spaces there without the revenue that came in from having those tenants. So what we did instead was to devote time to planning efforts to really reimagine how our currently available space can serve administrative needs and thus create space within the academic core of campus to support our academic mission. So we were looking at those adjacencies and how can that be helpful to you. Okay, I don't know about you, and I bet you're just a better person than I am, but anytime we talk about change coming in a world that feels like it's spinning with changes, I get a little bit anxious. I got to admit, I get a little bit anxious. And we all know how much our own appreciation or sense of our space matters to us. But we're not sharing these space plans. We're not sharing a direction that's going to bring us some change because we want to make you anxious. We're sharing this with you because we are all part of one Wake Forest University. that's dedicated to providing our students the very best education that we possibly can. And we have a big challenge on our hands. We have too little space that does not meet our current learning needs. We're all in this shared mission together, regardless of our particular department, regardless of our particular office, our particular program. We all need to remind ourselves that space is a shared university resource for our students. And as our student needs change, and as our programs and departments and offices change in response, we need to work together to help each other deliver on our shared mission. So I'm asking each of you, we're asking together, Jackie and I are asking each of you to take on this shared mission with us. And so here we are on the cusp of some meaningful, intentional space decisions that ensure a transformative education for our students and transformative professional experiences for you, our faculty and staff. I'm going to now let my partner, Jackie, develop the big near-term picture for all of you.
Thank you, Michelle. And it just really struck me how we have technology from the 1980s and buildings from the 1950s.
Right.
So we're
big lift forward here, friends.
Big lift forward. So, what you described really brings us to the how and the why. And the why is fundamental to what it means to be a member of our Wake Forest community. And that is, we provide and ensure a transformative education and student experience supported by the teacher-scholar ideal. You're going to hear us throughout this presentation reference a nomenclature, unlocking the core. And we are unlocking the core throughout this presentation and in fact throughout the whole space project. That's just really a working title for the how we are going to accomplish our space strategy. When we unlock the core, we will be relocating non-student-facing administrative units to a connected Wake Forest University location, which is our Beatty Street redevelopment project. And if you remember, we announced that project last year, and our intent by moving those administrative units is to create a more student-centric space within the core of our Renolda campus. Our goals with all of the conceptual moves that you're going to hear about today, they would be to address significant academic, living, and learning space needs while simultaneously addressing deferred maintenance in our plants. We also, of course, want to significantly enhance the experience and the quality of our undergraduate education while sustaining the hallmarks of the foundational Larson Master Plan, which is the foundation of why all of these buildings are where they are. And we want to match the needs and expectations of new programs and growth. So as we have referenced, both Michelle and I, we have a unique opportunity to integrate everything that we are doing. Before we look ahead, let's touch down on some of the work that we've accomplished over the past decade or so. Now, I wasn't here, many of you were, but I'll give you a reminder so that you have it. Wake Downtown, right? That was accomplished within the last decade. Renovations to Salem Hall, Farrell Hall, the Anthropology Building, Green Hall, the College Space Study. We also, during the last 10 years, actually revised our campus master plan once. And so all of that really sets us up to where we are today, which is being in a strong position to move forward. And when you look at this slide, the most near term is intentionally at the top, while holistic campus master planning, which we intend to begin this fall, is at the bottom. And that is our intention, to take a wide look, a broad look, long-range look at our wishes, desires, and plans for the future as we approach our 200th birthday in 2034. We all know, I'm sure you all know and recognize, that since 2021, President Wente has made space a major priority. And she did so based upon feedback from you. And so the space challenges that we have that we are trying to address are brought forward from all of you, from our strategic framework planning, from the Beatty Street opportunity, and from our larger campus master planning that will kick off later this year. The Beatty Street redevelopment in particular allows us to reconsider how we use our adjacencies, what constitutes campus, and new opportunities for us now and in the future. Our planning beginning this fall will identify our future needs and integrate it with our strategic framework and upcoming capital campaign. We now have a really tremendous opportunity to bring all of those pieces together.
So now we're going to show you our campus map. And I want you to pay attention to, and I'm not even going to use the point. So I think we tend to think of the core of the campus as that small circle, right? If you orient yourself. But we want you to think about and recognize all the buildings that are in that second circle there. Academic buildings, important buildings going forward. Ultimately, we want to talk about moves that are going to let us address significant needs. And so what you can see here with these circles is that these are ties actually that bind us. This is our North Star. We want to increase and improve our academic space within these two circles. That is our vital, vital effort. They are our core, okay? Think about that core in this way. Think about how it includes Farrell, how it includes HES, how it includes anthropology and environmental studies, all the way in that larger core. As we do this, we'd also encourage you to expand your minds a little bit more. Athletic properties are already in the Beatty Street redevelopment area, and work is currently happening there to ensure better, safer connectivity across the university. And finance and IS are already in the Beatty Street redevelopment area, and our childcare center is about to be there this fall. And then look to the west, we already have great connectivity that we take for granted with Renolda House, Renolda Village, and Renolda Gardens. Now, here we are, unlocking the core, all right? This is what you've really been waiting for. What are we talking? I can feel I just saw everybody far on their seats. Okay, here we go. We get the heads nodding. What's going on, Michele? Okay, I want you to look at minor renovations. Okay, they are the beige or the kind of tan colored here. And when we talk about minor reservations, it's not like when you put in a new bathtub and we're talking about relatively significant, just not overhauls. So when we think about minor renovations, we're thinking about, and here we name them, we're thinking about alumni, which is the architects tell us, is a really, really great building with really, really, really good bones as new academic space. Remember, you're going to expand your notion of that circle. Okay, think about Pruitt. Many of you may not even know where Pruitt is. This is in the athletic building right by our health services. And there is space that has been vacated in Pruitt that we will be able to use for swing space. When you think about making any kind of moves, you have to think about scheduling for and having some swing space to make it happen. And then Kirby Manchester, we would move some folks out of Kirby Manchester and renovate those spaces. And then we have Renolda Hall. Renolda Hall, I actually know this because of my year and a half, and well, more than that, 9.5 years in Renolda Hall, which is that the HVAC system is pretty bad in Renolda Hall, among other things. But we need some minor renovation there. And then look at the majors, okay, in gold. Benson, the building we're in right now, is actually a really good, architecturally, a good building. Its bones are very, very good. And we can make Benson into an academic space of the first order. And look at our Scales back in the corner. We all know that Scales has had significant renovation needs and will need major renovations going forward. And I would just share with you that last week we had a conversation with the Scales Fine Arts folks. It was really a very productive meeting in which we talked about our shared strategy to renovate that space. And finally, my home, and many people's homes in here, Tribble. Tribble is a building that the architects have looked at again and again and again. And it's on life support. I just have to say, it's on life support. I have spent a lot of time in that building. And so we will want to demolish that building to take it down and do new construction. Well, how are we going to do all this? Jackie is going to outline the emerging plan.
Okay, what we've all been waiting for. So I started by talking about unlocking the core, right? One of the first things that's going to happen is we are going to create an administrative cluster in the Beatty Street redevelopment area. Select non-student facing administrative units will move to the University Corporate Center for temporary swing space, while Carter and Front Street, the developers of the Beatty Street area, build an office building which will ultimately house the administrative cluster. The administrative cluster includes units as follows. Advancement will move out of Alumni Hall. HR will move out of the house on Ronaldo Road. Legal will vacate the law school. And finance, audit and compliance, and information systems will move from the UCC. Now, why lease a building? Well, leasing a building in the Beatty Street project will actually preserve university capital funding for the building renovations and construction that we want to do in the Ronaldo core of campus. And by creating this administrative cluster, we will have increased strategic adjacencies, we'll have equitable and quality office spaces, and we'll have increased access to shared resources such as huddle rooms, conference and training rooms, open collaboration spaces, and event space. I'm going to wait for this to load. It's one of my favorites. Hold on. Wait for it. Aha. Okay. So if we get this all done, what does it mean? What it means is that we're going to be able to see some really important goals come to fruition. We are going to improve academic space and adjacencies, and we'll increase overall academic space by 48%. While simultaneously addressing deferred maintenance, and I can't stress how important that is. We're going to consolidate and co-locate non-student facing administrative units and reduce non-student facing administrative space on the core Ronaldo campus by 79%. We're going to increase engagement space by 112%. This would be space to support student, faculty, and staff engagement and space to enhance the student experience. And we will address our significantly undersized dining hall that is the pit, which is intended to be part of a future student center on the Tribble site.
So, I forgot the big reveal in my part. I got so focused on the demolishing of Tribble, and in fact, what we would put on the Tribble footprint is a beautiful student center. Right? A beautiful, beautiful student center. So that's the real reveal. So what will we get? We will get this student-centric campus core. So when it's all said and done, this is what it could look like. It would look like. Keep in mind that the college's footprint on campus is expanding. We've had robust academic presence on the north and east side of the campus for a long time. Think about the law school in Worrell, the business school in Farrell, the addition of HES to Worrell, the renovation of Palmer and Piccolo from residence halls to the home of the anthropology department, the environmental studies program, and the Lamb Anthropology Museum. All of these academic spaces are a 7-minute walk or less from the center of campus. 7 minutes or less. I know in our brains it doesn't feel that way sometimes in our imaginations. What we're going to need to do is to prove on how we get there with connectivity. Yeah. We need to think about better walkways and paths, and that's something we're examining really, really closely. Okay, Jackie, could you give us more of the scope of this project?
Yeah, sure. To summarize, here's how all of this work will get done. Get it? How WAKE works. The Beatty Street redevelopment really allows us to unlock space potential in the core of campus, and it also provides strategic adjacencies while preserving our own capital. Alumni Hall, a building, as Michele said, with great renovation potential and space for learning, will be renovated for academic growth. Benson, with its central location, the building we're in now, will become, is planned to become an academic building. Architecturally, it's high quality space, and we can repurpose it easily for academic space. We're imagining locating humanities departments in this building, and by moving those departments into Benson, that will enable us to demolish Tribble to use that land in a different way, which we conceptually think could be a state-of-the-art student center to significantly enhance our student experience. And the new student center's adjacency to the first-year residence halls and the Forest program is just really lovely too. So our near-term timeline. Everybody get out the drum roll. The question I'm sure you're thinking is, when is all of this going to happen? I see many of you taking pictures. The answer is not tomorrow, okay? Chris Kiewis, Dr. Chris Kiewis, our new VP of Facilities, he did not inherit drawings for any of this. We have many, many more conversations that we have to have, and Michele's going to talk to you about that in a minute. But there are no drawings for any of this yet. Dr. Chris Kiewis, as I said, he is our project lead. We're working with our advancement team on their plans to swing into the UCC as a temporary move. And that's really the first and only move that's going to happen this calendar year. What is going to happen is that next week, our partners at Air St. Gross, campus space experts, are going to come to campus to meet with the leadership of potentially impacted academic departments. These meetings with Air St. Gross and the academic department leaders are going to focus on departmental needs and plans. We've also hosted an initial meeting with Carter Front Street and our administrative cluster leaders to begin our planning for the leased office building in the redevelopment. Between April and May, we'll be able to share with you hopefully a more definitive timeline. But if it takes longer than that, we'll take the time. We want to get it right. We will definitely be hosting an open house for all faculty, staff, and students for your input on the ideal working, learning, and open engagement spaces. What do they look like? What do they feel like? And Air St. Gross will be present for that. The end of the semester into the fall, we'll begin iterative design conversations with the earliest impacted units while we kick off the campus master plan and begin initial architectural planning for Alumni Hall and Pruitt. Advancement will also, like I said, move into the UCC as temporary swing space, and our work with Carter and Front Street will be ongoing. Then the renovations will begin, and it's important to know that these iterative design conversations that will take place very shortly with potentially impacted units will be based on the sequence of their move. So if you are not contacted today, that likely means next week, that likely means that your move might be further out in the future. So I just want you to know that. We're also committed, Michele and I, to only move academic units during the winter or summer break. You are not going to be asked to move during the semester.
So how are we going to achieve all of this? It's a lot. Well, we're going to do this with communication. This is a complex and ever-evolving, multifaceted effort with lots and lots of moving parts. So we have to have an unwavering focus on engagement and commitment throughout this project. That's the only way we're going to really make sure that it's successful. And that's our commitment to you. Our first goal is to listen to you and to listen well. Our second goal is transparency, and the communications professionals on our project team have been charged with developing comprehensive communication plans to ensure that our community is always informed and has plentiful opportunities to have their voices heard. So to that end, here's our spring 2024 communication plan. And you can see those pieces of it that we have accomplished already. Communication will potentially impact units with the potentially impacted units has actually been going on for some time. We'll ramp up that further this semester, even as we begin to discuss our plans with the broader Wake Forest community. Laura Giovanelli, Associate Dean for Learning Spaces in the college, has worked especially tirelessly to ensure that potentially impacted departments have the opportunities to share their needs and have their voices heard throughout these very early planning stages. And next week, as Jackie has just shared, our partners from Air St. Gross will be on campus for more in-depth discussions with each of those units. Then we're going to use broader communications, like President Wente's recent blog post. I have a monthly letter to the faculty, this whole event, How Wake Works, and we're going to begin to share through these efforts. We will begin to share this plan to a wider audience. As we said, communication is key, and there will always be more information forthcoming. Our communication group is working on a website that will launch in April. It'll have regular updates here. We'll have FAQs, feedback opportunities all along the way. Then we have an open house tentatively planned for May 1st that Jackie was referencing earlier, that will give faculty, staff, and students an opportunity to engage with the plan, to give input for the shared spaces, for learning and study spaces, for collaborative area spaces, outdoor spaces, and the like. Okay, this is a lot. We know that it's a lot, and we know you're processing all of this, but we'd also love to take your questions right now, and then don't forget How Wake Works, because if you're like me, it takes you a while to process, and you're going to think of those questions at 9 o'clock tonight or 5 a.m. tomorrow morning. Use this as well. Welcome your questions. Yes, Leanne.
How does this fit in with the capital campaign?
It fits in
Gloriously. Gloriously.
Yes, we're working very, very closely with Mark Peterson and Advancement in terms of the sequencing of these buildings and which buildings we believe will be most appealing to donors to support. And I also, when I look at you, Leanne, and I think about scales, the other part of the story, this is our near-term plan. We also are doing the comprehensive master plan work, and we are thinking very intentionally about what that means for scales and other buildings like the library that were not singled out for the near term, and they will be folding them into that capital campaign process that runs us up to 2034 and our 200th anniversary. Yes.
So I'm super excited as a staff member, as an alum. I think this is so exciting. I'm also a staff member in Carswell. And I don't even see that anywhere on the radar.
Right.
That building, I'm going to tell you, the carpet in Annenberg is the same carpet as when I was a staff member in 1998.
I believe it.
And so, while this is all great, that building has zero anything ever.
I'm going to say one thing and turn it over to Jackie. So that the same things that I just said about scales and the library hold for Carswell, and then Jackie's going to tell you her personal feelings about
Well,
Carswell.
I've been in Carswell, and I don't, although we can't do everything at once, and this is a near-term space strategy, believe me when I tell you that Carswell is not far from my mind, and Michele will also verify that. I talk about it a lot.
Yeah.
Tribble's first. Tribble is saddest.
You know, there's a kind of challenge when, you know, it's wonderful that we moved Wake Forest University Wake Forest College long before we were here, but all these buildings are essentially the same age, right? And so they are all looking, well, actually, Scales is a little younger, but yeah, they're all looking long of the tooth, yes. And we're very glad that Chris Kivas is here because he did all of Virginia Tech, right?
The last 10 years.
In the last 10 years. Yeah. So I just think, Chris, this has to look like a piece of cake for you by comparison.
Do you want to stand up and say hello
Do you want to say,
people?
They do have a fabulous team at the facility, and we will be all into this project here.
Thank you, Chris.
Yes.
I have a
specific question on my department I'll ask you later. Like, as a parent who just went through the college application process with her child last year, I was horrified that all but one school that he applied to had a consistent problem with students getting hit by cars. So I'm really glad. I think there was a lot of sense in having the 4B student-centric.
Yes,
you.
we
Thank you.
appreciate that. Yes, yeah, thank you.
And there's also a lot of work going on with connectivity to make a safe crossing across the university. And we've just instituted a traffic signal at Long Drive. I don't know if you know that. So I agree with you wholeheartedly.
So you can literally cross Long Drive now. I mean, you can literally cross
can push the
university,
button.
push the button and cross instead of taking your life into your own.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, Frank Shelton, Director of Housing.
Hi, Frank.
Hello. Question about Tribble. I love Tribble Hall. I think all buildings should have at least 3 first floors. With the namesake of the building, Dr. Harold Tribble, the building very much mimics his administration. In fact, that he was tried with the board of trustees, tried to oust him a couple of times, and he was kind of a controversial person. So with all of that in mind, and knowing that Carswell is next in line, that's where most of my family graduated from law school.
Oh.
Carswell, but I remember all the stories about Dr. Tribble. And so when I walk in the building, I kind of see his legacy there, because you can't get from one side to the other. So with the new students, will there be an opportunity to still pay honor to Dr. Tribble?
That's a lovely,
Oh,
lovely.
I mean, I think absolutely, we have had experience taking down buildings, saving special mementos, and you find ways to honor what was there. And I think for sure that would be possible.
And I think we're going to be able to use, and I'm glad my friends, technology friends are here, because we also think we can create a virtual reality of Tribble Hall so that you can have that experience over and over and over again, even when it's not here. Yeah. Isn't that good?
Okay. Yes. I'm sorry I don't know your name. Tell me your name.
Charisse James.
Hi, Charisse. Hi. Nice to meet you too.
I love this plan that you've looked at very strategic ways to think about unlocking the pool. I'm curious about the long-term plan, about opportunities for large gathering, as I think about planning for 1,500 incoming students, parents, families, etc. Benson is the space right now.
Right.
So I'm really thinking about concerns of how do I make that happen.
Right. Right. And so we are also, we will talk, but we're going to have to, we're going to have to use our partners. We're going to have to, probably use some space differently. And I have some ideas for that too. But we know this is used for events, and we'll try. We'll do our best, and we'll figure it out. All for one and one for Wake.
Are you envisioning academic units moving through swing spaces during the process, or is Tribble to Benson happening? We stay in Tribble until we come to Benson?
Yeah, no, we are not envisioning that academics won't move more than once. That's our goal. Again, it's very sort of high-level dreaming right now until we get everything going and started, but that's our goal, that academics only move once. What may happen is that the student offices, student organizations would move into a swing space while a new student center was being built.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Kathleen Earlier, the manager of Benson. One of our big challenges that I have not heard about is the accessibility, particularly for this building. Well, for all of campus, obviously, we have a lot of accessibility issues. One thing that immediately springs to mind is we have a lack of handicap spaces. We don't have enough for the decibels in this building. Can you talk a little bit more about how accessibility is being thought about in this plan?
Thank you. That's a great question.
Thank
on up,
you, Chris.
Hi, everybody. Yes, Chris Kiewis, but I got a microphone. But like I
everybody, accessibility is huge. And so we've got to work it into every time we do a renovation. There's several ways we can hit on accessibility because it's critical and has to be improved. And of course, this campus and the Larson master plan was all put together before ADA. We need to get it caught up. And ADA is actually the minimum of what we do. We want to exceed ADA. But the ways to do that is separate projects just on accessibility. Other way is when we do renovations to make sure it's incorporated into those projects, and not just the floor plate of the projects, but the area around, outside, obviously, as well as the inside. And the third thing is it's going to be a special focus study in the master plan that'll kick off in the fall.
Yes, thank you, Chris.
I think,
We have
oh,
one more.
one, yeah, sure.
On your map of campus with the 3 rings, the First Assembly Christian School
Yeah.
and the church were not included on that concept of our sharing the campus. I'm assuming that's because it's not on the near-term plan.
That's
but
right.
It wasn't even included on the idea of what we conceive of campus, so.
Well, we're certainly, with the Beatty Street redevelopment, we're certainly focused towards the north. So I would agree with you there. And it wasn't really on purpose that we left it off. It's still ours, we still own both. But our plans for expansion and growth are in the core campus and at the Beatty Street redevelopment for now.
Yes.
There seems to be a bit of an intimate connection with Ronaldo Trail to Ronaldo Village, and as we talk about moving to Beatty Street and we have temporary use of UCC, how do you see making an intimate connection to those spaces?
We were just talking about this an hour ago. Why don't you stand up and, I mean, the answer is we don't know yet. We don't know yet, but it's front of mind.
Right. And that really is the answer. Yeah, is we don't have it worked out yet as to how to do that, but we're trying to bat around ideas, and that's why I want to get input onto this plan as a whole, because it's a very important area for expansion, Beatty Street, right? A lot can happen there. We already have the sports events there. We're going to have offices there. But activating and how to make that space. We've worked on this several times, talking about what we can do. Steve is there too. He's come up with some ideas, as a matter of fact, real good ones. And how to make that, you can't make the distance shorter, but you can make the distance better, right? How can we make it so that it's a good thing to walk through, not I have to walk there, hey, I get to walk there, right? And to do that takes a lot of creativity, right? But that's where we're trying to get to.
Thank you for your question.
I think we will thank you all very much and invite you to join us for a reception just outside this room. Thank you all. Thank you to our wonderful panel.
Thank you. Thank you.